Hey guys, what is up? AwesomeTheSauce here. Hope you guys are having a great day. And welcome to video 2 out of 3 today. That's right, banging test room content everywhere. In this video, we're going to be talking about the newest, I guess you could call it the extension of the ongoing spell audit that Wizard101 has been doing on a bunch of spells. Today's video is going to be about 4 types of spells that have constantly caused issues in PvP. And I'm going to be talking about whether I think this is a good change, a bad change, potential pitfalls, all that jazz. So I'm going to reference a little bit of the dev diary that they put out today, but there's going to be a lot in that dev diary. You guys should read it, and I'll also be covering different parts of that as the week goes on. But basically, they dedicated a whole section of the dev diary, right? The developers that were behind this change, right? They talked about core buff standardization, and what that means is if your school has a blade, if it has a trap, if it has a pierce, or if it has a global buff of any sort, global being bubbles, it should be somewhat the same. There shouldn't be such a breakdown of school identity that some schools basically just command what it means to blade, or they just command what it means to bubble. So we're going to go through some of the changes, including some of the exceptions to the rules that they put in place, and it's crazy. Some of the stuff is actually insane, and it will change PvP completely. So obviously one of the most important parts of buffing, right, is probably how it affects ice, which is supposed to be the weakest school because it has such high resist. Look at what they did, bro, and this is what they did to every school. Every school now has a 35 blade. So for context, this used to be a 40 blade. Now obviously that doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. If every school has the same blade and one school has weaker base damage because they are better in other ways, then having the same effect on the blade still doesn't make up for it. Before, what you used to have was Ice Wizards running very low damage, but then they just made up for it with their blades and their bubbles. Look at Veilfrost, bro. This is literally the greatest ice nerf I've ever seen, and it makes sense to me. It made no sense why Ice had like 100 damage and a 40 bubble. That's basically like 140 damage. Not to mention the fact that with this bubble change, they also made TC bubbles no PvP. I'm going to be making another video today on all of the no PvP changes they made to TCs. That is going to be the craziest video of the day, I guarantee it. But this audit is literally crazy. So basically, right away, because of what schools have the best nerfs, right away you see an ice nerf here. You see Balefrost being only 25. So even if you have it up, it's not going to be a game changer anymore. And an Ice Blade is only 35. Now, even though TC bubbles are no PvP, TC blades seem to still be PvP. And it seems like they standardized these as well. So basically what this means is that it's 10 extra percent. Let's look at how crazy of an idea this is when you look at a school like Storm, right? School like Storm, right, bro? Their Stormblade used to do 30%, and it made no sense, because if they're supposed to be strong, why are they being nerfed in the blade area, right? It doesn't make any sense. Look at this stuff. Oh my god, look at this. This is absolutely insane, bro. Like a 45 blade on a Storm, this is the most powerful buff we've ever gotten for 0 pips as a Storm. There's no other buff like this. Even if you sharpened a blade before, you could not get this. You could not get this. It just went from Ice having the best TC blade to Storm having the best TC blade. That's basically what they did with this change. So now, if someone puts on a TC blade as a Storm, they're packing a punch right now. What I really like about this is that it's not like it's intrinsically unfair, right? Every school has the exact same damage on their blades and their bubbles, and every school, if they do have a bubble in their side deck, they will not be able to use it in PvP. But because some schools just have naturally more damage, they're better. The same blade will just mean more to them. Now, one thing that I will note is that, just to be thorough about this whole video, Balance did not get really anything here. They only got I think this is the same as the Balance Blade before. If you have a TC Balance Blade, it's 35. It's literally what it used to be. It does suck a little bit because, you know, I'm sure there's balances who want to be able to blade with what, like a 35 blade? Like, that would be really dope. But the truth of the matter is, when you have a Balance Blade on someone, the only way to counter it is with a Tower Shield. Unlike Volcanics, or, you know, other set shields, the most a universal shield goes up to is a 55 tower, right? That's as far as it goes. And also considering the fact that you could literally use this on other schools with your regular blade, it would make no sense to make this very powerful. So yes, Balance doesn't get a buff, but that's because of school identity, right? I mean, its school identity holds it back from blading. It makes a lot of sense to me. That being said, I actually still think that a TC Balance Blade in this meta, especially because of the way Steel Giant is a real spell now, right? It's no longer, it's no longer a TC. It's a real spell now. The fact that it is a real spell makes me think that Balance Blades still might have a little bit of a place, especially with strats that involve maybe Maycast Punishment, strats that involve gazing a lot to keep a bubble now that it's harder to keep the bubble up for other schools. So yes, even though the school identity of Balance does hold it back from blading excessively, it makes sense. It's one of those things that, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense. This is one L that I'm willing to take. Now, I will note that this probably means that sharpened blades are going to be very, very useful for schools that are weaker. I don't think you can just get away with doing the same blade twice and just bubbling and then just overtiming into a hit anymore, because your buffs just aren't that powerful. With the 25 bubble, Ice will simply have to find new ways to adapt to the meta. I don't think that Ice is going to be able to do what it's been doing. I'm not going to say that Ice is going to be ass. I will say that Ice is definitely worse than it was before this test realm dropped. Now, I actually left the biggest part of this change to this part of the video because I actually think that this is crazy. And this is the Pierce Blade change. I think that this is one of the most interesting changes that they put out because I actually don't know if it's going to change anything, but it could. Because I don't know if you guys know, but generally, Pierce Blades in this game, I don't think I've ever seen regular trainable Pierce Blades, whether it's on the King Art, whether it's on Shrike, or whether it's in its normal base form. It's never gone above 10%, but now they made them more than 10%. So you can actually go, I believe it's Enya Firemoon in the wild. Yeah, so you can learn all the spears from her. Look at this, bro. Look at this. So yes, Ice did get a nerf when it came to their damage, but they also have the lowest Pierce. So Pierce is a Pierce buff is the most relevant to them. But yeah, I could see blade stacking schools like Death using Death Spear. I could see Storm using it to hit right through shields, Fire using it to hit through shields. I could maybe see Ice using it for overtimes. I feel like this could be a really good buff for any school that uses overtime. Maybe Myth can use it before they King Art. I feel like that would actually, it would be, I honestly think that this is better than most blades. There is going to be a resist limit that they're going to put in place. So, like, 80 resist before is not going to be 80 resist now. So, Pierce is actually going to be a very good stat, because resist basically got nerfed this update. It's not like people are gaining resist as a result of this update. They're only going to lose, if anything. So, that means that this part of the spell audit might be the biggest part. I really think I can see people using this. You could even theoretically on a Storm, for example, use 2 of these and then Elf into a Rusalka, and you basically have a damage enchanted Rusalka with a Pierce Blade on it. I'm actually really curious to see how this one unfolds, but it's definitely the coolest part of the entire spell audit, in my opinion. Now, the other 2 spells that I wanted to touch on in terms of covering every spell audit in Test Realm right now is obviously the Dark Pack change, right? We saw that last week. We saw a leak of it. This is a huge change. Just so you guys know, there are no TC versions of this. This is now a death spell and a death spell only. You can only use it on yourself, but you get 225 buffs for the next 2 spells. This is a really nice buff. It really, really is. It can clear off weaknesses. You don't waste blades when you do it. You can theoretically do it whenever. And Sacrifice. Sacrifice is also doing that. It takes moon damage and then it gives you health. So now, Death probably has a second best heal, especially if you pip conserve this. This is almost better than Satyr. If someone weaknesses you, this is an amazing move. You can have blades up and sacrifice. This has never happened before. I could totally see healing strategies happen for Death. So this is another insanely big Death buff. Now what they didn't do was they did not change Empower. So that makes me think that they kept it so that if you're going against a Feint stacker, for practical reasons anyways, you can still use Empower TCs. I assume that if this became moon damage, it would also not be available to other schools. I think they're going to have to look at that when they are making this into a moon spell. Because, yes, it's good that death utilities are staying death, but what are you going to do against Feint stackers? You need self-damage hits, because otherwise it's an incredibly cheesy way to win a game. But yeah, y'all, new blades, new bubbles, new Pierce Blades, and some very death-specific spell audits this time around. There's no evidence to believe that this is the only spell audits we will even see during this test realm, so I'm super excited to see what else they put out. But this is the video of all the new regular main deck spells you can expect to see in your deck when Live Realm rolls around. What do you guys think of this? I'm really excited because, one, Death is getting more powerful. 2, blades make a little bit more sense to me, and 3, pierce blades might add a new element to PvP that we have not seen before. I would love to hear y'all's opinions. Do you guys think the meta is going to shift in any way because of the standardization of buffs? As always, drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a sub if you're new. There's tons of links in the description, including my Twitch, my Twitter, my Discord, my Instagram, and of course my Patreon. There will be one more video today, so stay tuned for that. If someone hasn't told you awesome today, they told something wrong. Stay awesome, and yeah,